Welcome to the 1457 podcast from Scotland, where golf began, a digital platform where we try and inspire golfers near and far to come to Scotland to play golf. You'll find all you need to know through our great photography, short films, stories, and of course, our podcasts. All on the website scotlandwheregolfbegan.com, and you'll find us on social at Where Golf Began and Facebook at Scotland Where Golf Began. A wee extra this evening, however, the 1457 podcast also is off the back of the 1457 Society, which is a wee society of like-minded golfers who want to play golf, have fun, chat and tour around Scotland. We've got events this year in Montrose, 24th of April, Kilspinny, 29th of May, and Gussick, 28th of August. And you can become a founding member for the princely price of £49. And that gives you all sorts of wee benefits, but most importantly, the first option to get a place on the outings at a slightly nicer price. Or you can be a cheapskate, or you can sign up in a free membership and play in the events. And you'll find all you need to know on the website, scotlandwheregolfbegan.com, and you'll see the 1457 Society there. You can join and do all the rest. Right, but first, this evening, our panel of experts. Are we experts? Are you guys experts? I'm looking there across the room. No. I know we've got one expert who's a guest.
I think.
So, Dave Kerr from Fife. How are you doing, David?
Very well, Malcolm. How are you today? You're looking very
a wee bit rushed today. I had to cook my salmon a bit fast, and a duck doesn't like to go catching his food and cooking it too fast and swallowing it. We're not gannets, we're ducks. We take our time. Roscoe, how are you?
Good, thank you, Malcolm. Good to be back. Good to be joined by our esteemed guest tonight. Congratulations on that read at the start there, Malcolm. I know you put a lot of effort into getting the words right and the promotion of the 1457 Society. Well done. Couple of concerns. You called me an expert, which I'd never call myself an expert, but
somebody has to call you an expert. We have to make you look good. Well, no, we make you sound good. It's a podcast.
You said like-minded. Does that mean you and I are like-minded? Because that's a real concern to me. But anyway, I'm happy to be a 1457 podcast host and member.
Fantastic. And this evening, we have, for the first time ever, a returner to the podcast, Mr. Neil Hampton from Dornoch. Neil, good evening. It's a delight to have you back. How are you doing?
Good to see you all, Malcolm. Thank you very much. Dave, Ross, good to see you too. And to be joining, I've never been a first, I don't think. So the first to return. So thank you very much for that honour of being the first to return. And I was good enough or bad enough or whatever you want to call it the first time. If you want to do it all again, thank you very much.
We just couldn't get anybody else.
I did wonder, yes. But anyway, no, I'm delighted to be here. Great to see you all again, boys, and I'm looking forward to our chat this evening.
We've had some great people on the podcast, but the one we did with you ranked pretty highly, so thanks for that. So anyway, kick off. You and Mr. Kerr were both at the PGA Golf Show, which kind of kicks off the season and the planning, or maybe kicks off the planning for the following season. Roscoe, did you manage to get to the PGA Show this year?
That was a 12 months ago joke, and no, I didn't go.
Well, you made it 5 minutes ago.
No, just for those that might be tuning in, when we were here with Neil last year, I had been invited to go, but then I started a new role and couldn't go. So no, I didn't go again. But thanks, Malcolm, appreciate it. But, yeah.
So, boys, Neil, how did you find the show this year?
I think it's tremendous, Malcolm. For people who don't know, I've been going to the show since 2012. So I've been I think a veteran now. There's a couple of people who've been going longer than I have. From Scotland, and they themselves are commenting on the show. And what I would comment on, and hopefully Dave will have something to say, is that the show post-COVID is getting busier and busier and busier, just as the game itself is. We're all commenting on the fact that it's a 3-day show, 2.5 days. And the first day, the Wednesday, is always really busy. Everybody wants to get their work done. And then by Thursday lunchtime, people are disappearing for a round of golf and getting away. But today, Thursday, almost mirrored the Wednesday, when there was many excited people trying to do business, trying to visit, trying to meet with people. And so that, to me, it was a tremendous thing. And a lot of the long in the tooth pros and managers like myself are saying, wow, this is a real upturn in the show, in the game, and for people wanting to get interested in golf and do more with it. So I thought it was fantastic. And even a little bit on Friday morning, because I stay for all 3 days, I get paid to be there, so I do my bit, and I thought even Friday morning had a nice buzz about it too. So it was great. So I know Dave was there, and we had a very good representation from Scotland this year, and a nice big booth, lots of people on there, and I thought the buzz was great. So I really enjoyed it and felt that the show is a positive thing for Scotland. I think it showcases us well. It's a big target market for us in North America. So I'm there, and I've booked up for next year already.
Dave, how do you feel about it?
I think that's a really I think I had made the same observation myself, Neil, about Thursday. Normally things do tail off a little bit on the Thursday. I've only been to four, maybe 5 of these now, Thursday is normally significantly quieter than the Wednesday. But yeah, I think we had as many good positive conversations on the Thursday as we did on the Wednesday this year. Friday was noticeably quieter. In fact, I was the only person on our stand on the Friday, but I still had a couple of good conversations, though. So it was certainly worth being there. But yeah, it's great to see a good, strong Scottish contingent at the show every year. Some of the same faces, some new faces, and I think that Ireland is always there in quite high numbers. And I think it's great to see both countries well represented, and some really good conversations about, people that are coming for the first time or people that are coming for the 15th time to Scotland to come and play golf. It's always great to see.
Neil, maybe you go first. I mean, a lot of people listening might not know what the PGA show is. What's all there? Is it just tour operators and golf clubs, or? So
the PGA show, its full Sunday title is a PGA merchandise show, and really is that the vast majority of the many halls it consumes is about merchandise, it's about equipment, it's about soft goods, it's about new inventions, it's about everything that to do with golf. And the good thing is that they've set aside an area that is a golf tourism section. So we, as Dave has rightly mentioned, we have Ireland there, we've got many of our tour operator colleagues there, we have Wales, we have Portugal is coming, we have Mexico there. So it's a big tourism bit, and a lot of the golf in America and the golfing holidays in America is led by the pros. The pro takes a group of people away. So that's why that section is there, so the pros can come in and talk golf holidays with people who can actually expertly help them on golf holidays. And that's why we see it as a big target market for us and a big showcase for us. Because the many pros are there, and part of the merchandise show is education for the pros. There's lots of educational seminars for them to get their CPD points and everything. So a lot of them have to go for various reasons, but that's why it's important for us to be there, because we are the front line for golf in Scotland and golf in the rest of the world. And as we all know, anyone playing golf is a great thing. So if we can encourage people to play more golf in more places, and if they pick Scotland, that's great. But we are there to do that, and it's vital for us to be there. I think people wonder why we go. Why do we want to go there? People know Royal Dornoch, but there's so many golfing opportunities there in the world now that if we are not standing there reminding people of what Scotland is, what Royal Dornoch is, what all the other courses and fabulous courses in Scotland, then we will not get left behind, but it fades from people's minds. So it's just a reinforcing of the product we have and the brand we have and the accessibility we have. And that's another rabbit one I've been down several times in other podcasts is about accessibility to golf in various places. So, but for us, it's a great showcase, and it's a meeting of old friends. But as Dave's rightly points out, it's a meeting of brand new friends, and I think we continue to cultivate that mood that Scotland is the place to go for golf.
So it's really kind of the big golf show in the world now. It's just developed, and it seems to be blossoming. And I haven't been for a long time. Maybe you should go next year. But
you should take Ross with you.
I'll take Roscoe. That's a really good idea. Now that sounds like a good idea. So you said there that the Americans often come with their pros. They come with their pros, and Dave, you'll bear that out. But they also come on their own trips.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find different countries, Neil, work differently? For instance, I think Germany, very often they travel with a lot of it's only through the pros. the pros do the thing with the tour operator. Do you find the way people get to you is different from country to country?
Oh, very much so, yeah. It's in North America, very much a tour operator-based golfing economy. If we were talking about Europe and places, there is places like Germany, which is another tour operator professional-led. But other parts of the world, for example, maybe Canada, is more people will do it independently. And certainly our colleagues in the rest of the UK are very much doing it, getting their own deals out there. So we have to weigh everything. The good thing for us, we've probably got about, over 200 tour operators registered with us as suppliers to us. But only about a third of our business actually comes from them. So we are very not reliant, but cognizant of the fact that 60% of our golfers that come to Royal Dornoch are independent travellers. So we have to bear with them and understand that. But it is a different market around the world. That's why we need to be in various places at different times. But, what we try and do is, as we've said earlier, break down the barriers and make golf accessible to everyone, whether it's a tour operator on the phone or it's an independent traveller or it's a Malcolm Duck. You get the same attention as everybody else does.
Dave, any expansion on that? How you find it?
Yeah, no, again, our business, we sponsor 8 PGA sections, so not quite a one-to-one mapping between a section and a state, but many of them are state designated sections, and through sponsorship of the section, we get to speak to all of the pros and the clubs that are part of that section, and we kind of become the default tour operator of choice for them. And that's how we get most of our pro-led business. It'd be interesting, I think, if I haven't run the numbers, but if I look through just trying to envisage what we've got booked in for this year, I reckon maybe about a third, 25% to a third of our business is that pro-led business from the US, and the rest will be independent or people taking the initiative in their own clubs to go ahead and organise a trip for some of their friends and other members. So yeah, the PGA show is interesting in both senses, because most of the people that are there attending are PGA pros. As Neil said about they're getting their CPD points and making sure that they're getting their qualifications.
What's the CPD point for the uninitiated?
So they every year they have to do some continuous professional development. CPD,
all right, okay.
That then just means that they can retain the status as a pro, basically. So as I say, there's seminars and everything from fitting golf shoes to how to run a small business, basically, which often pros are. So it's really diverse in that sense for what's there. But increasingly, and I don't know, maybe just you may have seen quite a bit of it this year as well, Neil. But there's a growing. I think we would previously have called them a media accreditation. People who have media accreditations attending the show, and that has shifted, I'd say, in the last couple of years, to be less about people that work for publications like Today's Golfer and the magazines that we all may pick up once in a while and read, or maybe do religiously, and more towards that influencer market. I think maybe 5 or 6 conversations I had with influencers over the course of the Wednesday and the Thursday, and maybe one on the Friday actually as well. Again, there's is an influencer who brings their some of their followers from Instagram or TikTok or anywhere else on a trip. Are they now a tour operator? It's a bit of a grey area, but typically, again, oftentimes they're using us as the bona fide tour operator. But it's just another shift in the market that we've seen in the last couple of years, I would say, which is just
it's a permanently changing market. We'll bring Ross in a minute to ask some questions about what's happening at Dornoch. But yeah, it's certainly when I was at Ducks, the the influencer wasn't bringing people, but certainly he was putting the message in the films that people saw. And if they see those films, they're loading up guys, Eric Anders Langs, all the rest of it, then they see that and they come, and it works really, really, really well. So Inverness Airport, Neil, we was chatting about that, and I was chatting about that yesterday with some other guys in tourism. Are you getting a lot of people coming to you that are flying directly into Inverness? Because you can fly directly into Inverness Airport from Amsterdam, I think. Is that correct?
Amsterdam and Heathrow.
And Heathrow.
Yeah. I mean, those are the two main hubs for the airlines, KLM and BA. You can fly from other airports in the UK to Inverness, but you would have to change airline, which is not the easiest thing to do. So Heathrow and Amsterdam and Schiphol, are the two, and they are fairly big planes. So we know that you can get your luggage in them. Some of the smaller carriers struggle to get all the clubs on, but certainly BA and KLM are the ones to use, and we recommend it. I know there's a bit you got to change planes and change airports, but landing in Inverness and having an hour's drive to Dornoch is much better, in my mind anyway, than landing in Edinburgh and Glasgow and having 4 hours drive. And it's really the way home that really hurts. To drive 4 hours to the airport before you get on the plane is tough for me. I don't like that. So we always, whenever I go away, we always try and fly from Inverness to somewhere. But you have to have. But the airlines are getting better at it, and if you get it right in Terminal 5, it's not a bad changeover. And certainly in Schiphol too, if you get it right, it's easy to do. So I would recommend that because it's a lovely airport to come into. It's nice and small. So you don't have that buzz of the bigger ones, and there's a fair chance that your luggage will arrive.
Always useful. So you can get there by flying into Edinburgh, Glasgow, or into Inverness, and you can find out how to get there from Scotland Golf Began website or SIGTOA, Scottish Incoming Tour Operators Association. That website there, you'll find a load of tour operators. So now we've got you there. What are you doing? Russ, you had some questions to ask Neil about. Do you want to lead us through those questions about what Neil's doing up there?
Yep, no problems. A pleasure.
Not just Neil, I've got to say. It's Dornoch and Neil leading the charge.
No, well, in fairness, from what I can observe and what I know is Neil is very much a driving force of what's happening in and around Royal Dornoch. And, Neil, I think people love to hear about the PGA show, but those of us that are listening to the 1457, we know they're big golf architecture buffs. They love their links golf and very interested in the developments of what happens in and around all links courses in Scotland. And, you've been the steward of probably one of the most notable projects that have come to the Scottish golf landscape in the development and the plans for the Struie Course. That I had a little bit of the opportunity to fly over with the drone last year, looking at some of the land there before the plans were announced. And, I guess a lot of people, are interested to know what the process is for, the golf course going into a redevelopment and what it takes to set that up, from choosing architects and how many architects get involved and then the decision-making process. So, I'm sure you've told a number of people all of this story already, but I'm pretty sure that some of the guys and girls listening would love to know about that whole process of the Struie and what it was all about, how it came about.
No, thanks, Ross. No, I think when we spoke last year, I was probably mid doing all this. I didn't really have an opportunity or the right time to tell him more about what we were doing and why we were doing it. And I think that's the place to start. Why are we doing this? Because we're back in 23 as the clubhouse project, our new clubhouse, which is open, and I recommend you all come and see it. It's getting some rave reviews, so we can all say we're very proud of what we delivered for our members. So please come and see it. They've said to us they're very proud of it. So I'd like to share it with you. But back in 23, as that project was about to come to fruition, we spoke to the members and said, we're going to do this clubhouse. We're going to deliver you a clubhouse that you're going to be proud of. It's going to be there on time and on budget, which it is. And what would you like to see next? And it was that kind of finger in the air of what direction are we going in now? And back then it was very evident from the survey we did they want a much better Struie course in their eyes. I mean, those people who have played the Struie think it's a marvellous course anyway, but there's always tweaks you could make. And secondly, they wanted practice facilities. They wanted to see a proper driving range, a proper short game. They wanted something where it could do that, and a club of our standing should have something that reflects. So we put a brief together back in the end of 23, yes, and put it out to architects. Or was it 24? I get confused. I'm getting old. Time passes so quickly. But we put a brief out just before Christmas. I asked Adam Lawrence of Golf Course Architecture Magazine, a friend of mine, to recommend some people. The last thing we wanted to do was advertise to the world that we wanted some architects. Other people would have been inundated from everybody. And having done that for the clubhouse, we didn't want to sift through that big pile of applications. So we asked Adam for some recommendations, which he kindly gave us. There was 3 architects that heard it on the grapevine, and we said, well, sure, if you want to put your hat in the ring, come and do that. So they all came to the site, they all had a look round, they all gave us a proposal. So we had 9 different proposals to look at. But the brief really was, we have all this land. For those that don't know, we have 800 acres of land. Only a small proportion of that is actually golf course at the moment. So you said, what is our legacy to the people going forward? Our first legacy is the clubhouse. We've built you something that will last the next 100 years. So what are we going to do next? Well, the next investment should be our golf facilities to bring them up to what the clubhouse is and what the championship course has always been. So how can we do that? So we said to the guys, here's a plan of all the land we have, some of which is an existing golf course at Struie, and some of which is just bare arable land that we graze sheep and cattle and the like on. But we said, we want you to come back with something that shows what this land could be in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Give us the blue sky thinking. Give us the things that you've seen around the world that would work for us in Scottish golf. And to achieve the dream of having a golf facility that suits every single person, however they want to consume golf. Am I young? Am I old? Do I play a lot of golf? Do I play a little? Do I want lessons? Do I have a short period of time? Do I want to do my short game, my long game? Do I just want to have a night out with the boys and have I want to do all that. But we want it all to happen in Scotland. So that was the brief to all the 9 architects. And it was quite amazing to see what people come back with. But the overriding thing was we want to use all the land. So for the people that come after me and whoever's after them and whatever, there is a plan in place. There's far too many golf clubs in the world, and especially in Scotland, where there is no strategic forward plan. And the next incoming captain or committee have some weird and wonderful ideas about what they want to do. And that really stifles progress, and it really stifles development of that particular golf club, because they then stumble on because somebody will build something and the next year they'll change it. But what we've put in place is something that everybody really enjoys, really likes, and wants to see come to fruition. So we interviewed the 9 architects. They all did the presentations, and we had to pick one. And the one that stood out by a long way, and I've said this to many people, the team from King Collins Dormer not only had the best proposal, they used all the land to the much better effect than the rest, but they had, and this is no disrespect to all the rest we did have, but they had the most passion. These guys were the most excited people in the world to come, to get the chance even to come and pitch for this, they said. If they didn't get it, it didn't matter because they've had the opportunity. And so we picked there. So there was by far and away, in our minds, of the 9 people on the panel, and there was 9 different people. There was the greenkeepers, there was the management, there were some members, there was a captain, there was the ladies. Everybody was involved. It was a very diverse. So we feel, and we felt quite confident when we recommended the King Collins Dormer that should be the one. And thankfully, our council of management agreed. And so that's when we gave them the opportunity to take this forward. So last May, they did a presentation in the old clubhouse, our old clubhouse. Now, there was 147 people in the room. And as I said before, you could hear a pin drop. Rob Collins is a fantastic man, great presenter, a great passionate man about golf course architecture. So he had the room in thrall for an hour and a half. And everybody was wowed by what they saw. And it's been the same reception from everybody that's seen the plans that we have going forward. Obviously, these are, as I keep saying, they're just lines on a drawing. We need to develop them into what can actually be made. We are currently working through the planning permission cycle. The feedback we've had initially is that we shouldn't have any issues. We've got to do lots of reports and studies and things, but we should actually get that to come to fruition. And so the first thing we're going to do is build our brand new golf course. And Ross, you touched on golf in Scotland and it's the uniqueness and the way it is the traditional game. And so the KCD team are going to give us another links course. They're going to give us another style of links golf. It's not going to be the same as championship course. It's not going to be the same as a Struie, but it's going to be another style. It's going to be, again, wider fairways, bigger greens, slightly more natural bunkers, but it's going to use, in their words, just the way the terrain flows. They've seen something in the piece of land we gave them that they think is going to be a natural golf course. Very little earth moving, construct some tees and greens, but apart from that, they're just going to cut the grass and make it happen. They are again, they were here with us a couple of weeks ago and very excited about that. During that process, there's 9 holes going in the Struie. Again, for those that have played it, the holes that go through 7 to 13 are the most recent ones, but also the best ones. So they're going to replicate that design and incorporate them. And so the land that they release from that will build our driving range. We'll build an 18-hole par 3 course. A few other things round about the clubhouse, putting greens and short game areas. But it's a huge thing. And like I say, when we launched it to the members last May, that you could hear a pin drop. The excitement was there. And as usual, I went round the room with the microphone afterwards for the Q&A. And as you will understand, I know my members. And so somebody puts their hand up and you go, oh dear, right. These are the people who have maybe not the most rosy outlook on life. But I gave it to one chap and he asked a very intelligent and very positive question about this. I went, oh, that's nice. That's a nice surprise from him. Same, I went to one of our lady members who does always have a comment, but usually on the negative side, and she was the same. She said, wow, this is amazing and I hope I live long enough to see it. And so to get buy-in from those people was quite amazing. And one of the biggest pluses for us was, as you understand, at the end of it, everybody has a private question they want to ask these boys. And so there's a big crowd amongst them. And so people ask questions, eventually people dwindle away. So from starting at 7 o'clock at night, we were still there at 11 o'clock at night until the final person had their last question. The boys were still there. Couple of pints of Guinness maybe just to keep them going, but they carried on and they said, right, we're here till the end, until everybody gets their piece. I said, that's fine. And when are you going home? He says, well, 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, get the taxi to the airport. I went, really? He said, yeah. But that's what this job takes. That's if you're going to get it right, you give yourself to that. And it was the most fascinating experience. And I've met them several times since then. And they are the happiest people in the world to be working in Scotland and really passionate about what Royal Dornoch is and why they've got this job. So I know that they're in it for the long term. We don't know how long it's going to take us, but we know they're there for us. But for us as a club, it's giving our members the future, and it's giving the game of golf something it really needs. Is this not movement away from championship golf, but the ability to satisfy everyone? As we've said before, golf is Scotland's game, and everybody plays golf, but everybody plays golf in a different way. So if we can have the facilities in Dornoch to do that, and then we will attract people, as Malcolm knows. My desire is to make Scotland great through golf. And if we can make Scotland great, the economy of the whole thing survives and it perpetuates. So, and it's such a marvellous game to play with the fresh air and the fun you can have. And you don't have to run, you can walk, so it's great. So, the only time you break sweat's when the sun comes out, if that ever happens again. So for me, and I'm not going to be in the job in Dornoch too long, but I think we're leaving something behind that people will look at and want to be part of. We've seen that with our membership, which is closed. I've seen that with our T-sheets that are full. We've seen the reception of the clubhouse and everything. So I think at the moment we're doing the right thing for golf. And I know in the rest of the country it's the same. Brora, Golspie, Tane are all doing well up near us. And the many other clubs that I speak to are doing fine. So I think it's a positive thing. And to see investment that we're putting in, I think will maybe trigger a few other people to start doing the same thing.
Thanks for that, Neil. It's fascinating and it will continue to be fascinating to see it play out. King Collins Dormer, a lot of people will know of King Collins and the work that they've done at, the first one that comes to mind was Sweetens Cove. I think that was one of the courses that put them on the map as, a new up and coming group of, younger architects that are, out of the outside of the normal staple set of architects that we probably all look towards for big design. And I think since their appointment up with you, they've picked up some work in Australia, which again was down there at 7 Mile Beach. They'll build the second course at 7 Mile Beach. So they've, got now a couple of really significant global scale projects under their belt. So, they really are a young group of architects on the move. A question I've got, having, seen that block of land that you acquired, a couple of years ago, will that feature significantly in those new holes, that block of land there? And if so, I'm assuming that the King Collins Dormer people have been there. What were the parts of that land that they really liked, that intrigued them about? From the air, it looks fairly flat, but I remember flying the drone down over it, and there's quite a bit of undulation in that land. So what were they and you were excited about when they got onto that piece of land?
Yeah, thanks, Ross. I think that was it wasn't them that spotted a piece of land. It was another architect that he said, that's a great piece, you should have that, because the other piece that we've given is reasonably flat. And I think this is something that the other architects missed, is that in the other piece of land, which is the vast majority of the piece they're going to use, there's a big spine that runs down the north side of it. And a lot of our architects didn't see that. They felt it was quite flat, and there wasn't a lot you could do with it. But the KCD boys spotted this spine, and they're using that to navigate their way out to this new piece of land, as you say, that we bought about 4 or 5 years ago. And in that land, it is supremely undulating. There's nice heathers in it. There's a bit of gorse in it. It takes you down to the beach. So you're going to get to the water side, hopefully, with their traversing through it, because the rest of the land is removed from the beach. The Struie Course lies between it and the sea. And so while it's a links course, it very much is. You won't get the chance to see the sea until these new rules go in. And they're very excited about how they manoeuvre people out there, play around that piece, and then manoeuvre them back. And from what you've seen, it is they've done it pretty well. Again, we've got to get the detail in. But getting people down to the sea and using that piece is what they focused on, along with that spine that's in the land already. So I marvel at the talent and the vision of these golf course architects, because I've walked that land before and I've stood with them, and they see something that I can't see. They explain it and go, yeah, okay. And it's these people have the talent to bring it out, and I think one of the things that I maybe didn't mention, and I should have, is that one of the things that really excited us about what their proposal was that they're going to be on site constructing. They're not a team of architects that gives you a lot of drawings and then lets another team come in and build it. They are very passionate about being there. And so I don't expect to get a huge number of drawings from them, but I do expect to get their talent on site. And as maybe some of you are aware, Trevor Dormer, who has joined them to make it KCD, not just KC, he is the foremost shaper in the world, having worked for Bill Coor and Ben Crenshaw for the last 11 years. He really was excited by what Tad and Rob Collins were doing, and so they formed this partnership. So Trevor himself is a fantastic eye for golf course architecture, but also I think when he gets on the ground and starts shaping it, that's where his talents will really shine through from us.
I really think that's a real positive change in new course development and how architects go about it now. Is the ones that I'm more familiar with all seem to have their own teams.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a core group of people, they transport them around the world, and they'll spend 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 15 months on site. They might get some equipment in that they don't otherwise, ship over from the US or Australia or otherwise. But they'll dedicate their time to the land and the town, and usually walk out with a lot of fond memories of spending so much time in friendships. It's great. I love hearing stories like that. Yeah, the clubhouse. I should have mentioned the clubhouse at the start. I knew we'd get to it, but congratulations on opening the clubhouse. I haven't seen it. I saw it a couple of times through the development, but I haven't been up there yet. I will get up there. An amazing piece of architecture, but very sympathetic to what you'd expect a new building to be in Scotland. I think it's I'm not an architecture buff, but the books behind me down there are definitely some architecture books in there. You said that the response from the members has been fantastic. Of course it was going to be, but how did that? Were there any nervous times in there? Did you meet your deadlines? Did everything happen smoothly? And what's just been the process since getting it open, and what's changed?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It doesn't go smoothly. It never goes as smooth as you would like, and there's always little hiccups along the way. But what was really evident amongst not just the golf club team, but the contractors and all the consultants, was they all saw this as a very blue chip project that they needed to get right as well. There was no infighting. There was nobody saying, I'm sitting there with their arms folded saying, nope, nope. It's, unless you pay more money, it's like, no, we need to make this right, because this is going to be iconic for the world of golf, but also iconic for the people involved in the project. So every one of the consultants, contractors is doing their press release and their own videos and their photos because they are so proud of it. And I think that's one of the reasons it's become so good, is they have the passion and they've invested themselves and given us something that is so wonderful. I could give you lots of adjectives that the members have said to me now they've been in it. But was it smooth all the way? No. Are we finished? No. We're still learning the building. There's still little tweaks that we need to make it and how we run it. But the good thing is nobody's left us standing still. Nobody's left us behind. They're still on the phone and the email to say, right, how do I fix that? And this doesn't work here. How do I change the setting for that? All these things are still there, and so they still have the passion for it. And so what was really nice, though, is, and what's really evident for us, as I said, if you don't have an eye for it like I don't, when you look at a drawing, when you look at an artist's representation, which was put out before the clubhouse was ever started, there was a lot of negative comments around the world about what it looked like and what it might be likened to. But now the scaffolding's away, now it's open. The comments about the architecture are just what you've said, Ross. It is a fascinating and wonderful building that really is in keeping with the architecture of Dornoch. It's in keeping with the architecture of Scotland. It represents who we are, and it represents a solid foundation for golf, what it looks like. It's going to be there for years to come and admire for years to come. So always, as we all know, wait before you share your opinion until you've seen the finished result. And that's what it is, and it really is marvellous. And I've had several members come up who said, I didn't like it, but actually I was wrong. This is a stunning building. Thank you for putting it in where it is, and thank you for delivering it for us. So it's nice to have that feedback on that. But it's better than you think. You have to come and see it, because then it's even more wow than the photographs and the videos that you've seen.
Did you incorporate any special features in there that you had been thinking about that you would like in a clubhouse for the members to experience? Or, are there any special little bits that you added in there that you think really make it stand out and give the members a little bit extra?
Well, we've tried to incorporate the latest technology in everything we do and still make it a nice clubhouse. So with the latest sound system, the latest AV systems, the latest latest heating systems, we're as green as we can be. Ground source heat pumps, PV panels, battery storage. We've tried to make it as efficient a building as it can, and make it as warm and cuddly a building. That's what one of the members said to me. I love walking in here because it just gives me a hug. The brief was it needs to talk about the 150 years, which it will be in next year, of this golf club. How do we explain that history? How do we show it off? How do we get people involved in who we are? So that your whole journey through the clubhouse is about Royal Dornoch Golf Club, where it's come from, where it's going, the characters involved, the vision it has for the future. That's all on display all the time. So there's always something for you to see. There's always something for you to look at or discuss or talk about. Or just as we did with one of the feedback we got from the early surveys we did to members, the views from the old clubhouse, from the lounge, with the floor-to-ceiling glass, was something that said we need to keep the views. So to your point, I think we've overdone that for them. And if that's possible, for everywhere you sit, you can see a window. You can see out, you can see the view, whether it's all the way down the first and the 18th fairway to the lighthouse at Tarbot Nest. Or moment you keep turning around to the west, and you can see Tane, and you can see the Struie Hills, you can see Dornoch itself now, you can see our cathedral, which you couldn't see before from the old clubhouse. So 270 degrees of views. So what we've found is that the linger time of all our members and our visitors and our friends is so much longer, because there's so much more to enjoy just looking out a window.
One of the greatest things I remember in all my time, not just life in Scotland, but was the view of the sunrise. At Royal Dornoch. It was just a spectacular 2 or 3 mornings that I spent up there with the sun popping up over the horizon. Beautiful. Last question from me, I'll hand back to Malcolm. Just back to the master plan for the Struie and the other development around the course. What's the timeline on that? So with people, that are planning visitation, what should their expectations be when they might see the course completed? What's the timeline there?
A good question, and there's nothing definite, Ross. But what I would say is that planning will take us most of this year to get approved. But during that time, the KCD boys will be working up detailed design, and we'll put in some costings in. We'll work out just how much money we need to have. I doubt we'll get it to this year's AGM, which is in August. I would think there might be a special AGM to get things started. So I would reckon I'd be hopeful, and I can't say more than that. Hopeful that we'd have a spade in the ground in 27. It might be to try and tie something into our 150th anniversary, a ceremonial dig of the next phase, the next 100 years of Royal Dornoch. But that's my target, is to try and get some physically done next year. And I think the members are keen. I had to put a note out to the members at the back end of last year when some were asking why we hadn't started yet. So I think they're keen now. They've delivered one thing. It's like they're hungry for the next thing, and which is great to have. Whereas the clubhouse, as you know, took us many years to get over the line with their approval. They're now desirous of more, and I think we want to deliver more. The club is doing well financially. We're as Dave knows, he sends us a lot of guests to come and play. We've got a full membership, so we want to reinvest in our facilities as soon as we can. It's the money in the bank is not not of any use. I mean, there's interest to be gained at some point, but that's not doing its best for its members and for the rest of the golfing world. So yeah, as soon as I can, Ross, I'm keen, as Malcolm and Dave know, I like to get on with things. So if I can, we'll be doing that as soon as possible.
Neil, thanks for answering my questions. There's probably several more that maybe the guys want to ask, but Malcolm, I'll hand back to you, and I can stop talking and you can take over, Malcolm.
Dave, you were looking to pop in there with a question or two.
It was just really the clubhouse, really, and just the departure is from the existing clubhouse. The previous clubhouse was iconic in its own way, but so different to what you've put in place now. And again, that was always probably going to generate a bit of tension, wasn't it? Because people were used to the look and feel of the old clubhouse. I know it had its challenges, certainly. But just in terms of the plan for that now, I think we've talked about it before, Neil, but just for everyone else's benefit, where are you now? Have you got the sledgehammer out and the hard hat on? And
yeah, I know podcasts go out at various times, but what I can say as we sit today, it's a third of the building is already down. Demolition has started. We aim to be finished the deconstruction of our 116-year-old clubhouse by the end of March, and then the land will be left as a flat piece of land just there. We do have, again, ambitions in our long-term strategic plan to put another building in its place. That has been identified. The contents and the purpose of that building yet to be defined. Many people, and I agree, I'm one of them, that accommodation would be a great thing to have. Quality accommodation. Who would want to stay in Royal Dornoch's Dormy House? I think a big sell itself for your clients, for me, for Malcolm, everybody would do that. But again, there's other things. Our history is very important to us. So is there a museum element to that building? Simulators, we have one in our brand new clubhouse, but do we need 2 or 3 more for these long winters and wet winters we seem to be getting? Is there more admin space required? I mean, it really is. Already we're feeling in our brand new clubhouse, and I don't want to say this out loud, but we maybe don't have enough room. If we're going to build these other courses, we're going to need more admin people, facilities, all these things. So it's a nice problem to have that we are running out of space, even though we've just finished. But we do want to put something in its place. We want it to be there, and again, the architecture will reflect what we have, and the purpose will be the same. It's how do we grow the game of golf?
Terrific. Again, I think I've blown smoke in your general direction many times in the past, Neil. But I think there are many fantastic club managers in Scotland. We're very well blessed there. But you're just a shining example to anyone who is either in the sector, wants to get into the sector, as someone who just embraces a challenge, gets stuck into it, and just makes stuff happen. And the way you talk about, I find it amazingly refreshing to hear the way you talk about, how Dornoch wants to look in another 100 years' time. That level of vision and commitment is very rare, but always awe-inspiring when you see it. So again, I've fanboyed you enough in the past already, Neil, but I cannot speak highly enough of what you have done at Dornoch in your time there, and what you are doing now, and the way you're going to leave that club going forward. It is truly awe-inspiring. So thank you. I'm no member of Royal Dornoch, but if you ever open the list, I might join it. But for the world of golf, for Scotland's place in the world of golf, for the local area, for the wider Highlands region, all of us should thank you for the amazing contribution you've made to golf in Scotland, in the Highlands, and particularly in Dornoch. It's truly unbelievably impressive. That's enough for me now, I think. Yeah, I'll go and sit down and stop blushing.
Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate that. It's a passion of mine all my life about the game of golf. I was brought up with it, as you know. We talked about it last time. So I just want to do what the rest of the people are doing and make the game great, make the game great again, and as it always is. So I appreciate what you're saying. I thank you very much. You're very kind, and I do feel humbled by what you say. Thank you.
And it's not just the building and the stuff; it's the way he treats his staff too. So the young kids coming through, a Christmas birthday card for every member of staff, and their birthday with something personal written to it. But then again, he'd be nobody He'd be absolutely nobody without somebody else. So behind every great man, there stands a much greater woman. So,
as we both know, Malcolm.
What's that?
We both know that, and they're usually
both know that,
and they're usually called Fiona.
Exactly. So Fiona and Neil, we state secret every Friday have a fizzy Friday, a wee glass of fizz, just to toast the week and the what's gone right and what's got wrong, and the fact they're still together and not killed each other. But yeah, Neil, you do a great job. There was talk about putting green as well, isn't there? You do putting green as well?
Yeah, we do want to have a Himalaya-style putting green. Again, there's a number of our members are too old to actually play golf, even a par 3 course. But we've used to have a ladies' putting group. We'd go out every day. So we want to give them something that like I say, we're trying to get back into this dementia groups, get them back into the world of golf so they can, rekindle the memories. We know how good that is for them. So we're going to do that. And putting was a great thing for them. So like I say, we can appeal and use golf for everything, Malcolm. So yeah, we have the ability to provide these facilities. So we will. And then, as you know, my job here is to help people playing golf, not to stop them. So the more people come to me and say, "Can I?" and I go, "Yes, let's go do it." And it is making it accessible, available, give them the opportunity. So if a Himalaya-style putting green, is something I would have fun playing when I get a bit older, because it's not too far from the bar.
I wouldn't know anything about putting games in bars at all. Wouldn't be close to my heart in the slightest. I just had a thought that if you folks, those listening, if you go back and listen to the previous podcast with Neil, you'll hear a bit more what's been done with the town and the golf club and bringing that together, and how the committee led by Neil and together have done that. And it's obviously, Neil, what you're doing here is not just the golf club; it's how the whole town comes together with everything on there. So those are the major things that you're doing just now in Dornoch Golf Club, yeah? Anything else happening in the Toon?
In the Toon, it's hard to say. The trouble is I never get out of my golf club to go into the Toon.
Never get out of the golf club to go to your house?
So the town is developing. We've got lots of houses being built, lots of people moving in. It is in our area, we talk about depopulation, which is a huge issue for East Sutherland, the area we're in, and the Highlands in general, the young people leaving. But we are the one that is kind of slightly against the tide with more houses getting built. Unfortunately, most of them being filled with people of our vintage trying to retire to Dornoch. But we are, as we proved recently, creating more jobs through the facilities we've built, new clubhouse, new golf courses, all these things, so more employment. And what we're seeing is that, you've kindly mentioned it already, we're very good to our teams, our staff. We pay very good wages, we have good benefit schemes, we've good hours of work, good ancillary benefits. So I actually found out this week that we've just advertised for 2 admin posts. We've employed 2 people, and one of those has come from the local council doing an admin job, saying, "I've looked at your admin jobs before, but now it's actually the rates you're paying, the benefits you give are better than being in the local council, so I'm going to come and work for you." And this chap's been weighing it up over the last few years every time we advertise one, because his council job was not the most exciting one. He said, actually now it pays for me to come and work for you. And that's a nice pat in the back for us, is that we are paying and giving what people want to do. And so our team told me just this week that they've never had so many applications for all the different jobs that we've advertised. Maybe the new clubhouse, maybe the golf course, maybe the benefits, maybe whatever it was, but we are now attracting people. So much so, one of the bigger capital projects we're doing is providing more staff accommodation. We're about to start building a block of 4 this year, and then we're going to do that over the coming years, so we can actually provide proper accommodation for our staff. So again, something behind the scenes that members don't see, as well as all fantastic golf courses and driving ranges and Himalayas putting greens. We are really investing in our staff in many other ways than just paying them lots of money. We are giving a great quality of life and the ability to stay and work and live in Dornoch.
Yeah, the last podcast we did was about halfway houses, and we were talking about the level of service, and service is huge. I think a lot of places miss accommodation for staff because it's very hard for them to get in and out and get places at the right time. So that's a brilliant idea. So Any news on Cool Links? Because that's still bubbling, or
It's still with the Scottish Government on somebody's desk waiting for an answer. As you know, there's an election coming up sometime soon, so we're all quite sure there'll be nothing happening before that is finished. And so, yeah, it's such a shame that the government can't be held to account and have deadlines on these things. I think it's, there's people wanting to invest rather large sums of money in our area. Again, back to the point about depopulation, giving jobs that people want to have, giving opportunities for young people to stay in an area that they love. And this is all private money. This is not government money. This is not central UK money. This is people willing to invest in our area. So it's whether it happens or not. I just think it's scandalous that the government isn't held to account and given a deadline. The hearing finished in November 23, and yet we still haven't had anything from the government yet. So I tell you, November 24. So that's 18 months since the public hearing was finalised, finished. We all did our bit. And still there's no timeline on when they have to give a response. We in our business world have timelines to adhere to and things that we have to, service standards and that we have to give, but the government doesn't. And I think that's the disappointing thing. We'd all like an answer. Is it yes or is it no? Whatever it is, then we can move on. But the fact that they can't give us something and won't tell us anything is disappointing. But as you know me, Malcolm, I like to be optimistic. I still think it's the right thing for the area, and the local people want it. The local council, Highland Council, have approved it and said they want it. So let's see what happens. But no, I don't think anything now. I mean, late summer, early autumn before we get something now, in my opinion.
Another course like that just makes a bigger concentration of good golf courses.
Their eyes will widen with all the opportunity to bring more golfers to the Highlands and especially Dornoch with a course of that calibre designed by Bill Coore. So yeah, it's disappointing, but I never feel to be disappointed.
So you've also got across in Inverness in Cabot, you've got the new Ep.30, which did its soft thing last year, but it's opening up. Do you think that's going to be a big boost for the Highlands, having the two?
Oh, absolutely, Malcolm. I was very lucky to play it in September last year in our preview plays, and I thought it was a fantastic golf course. It's a nice contrast to the Castle Stuart one, well laid out, some fantastic views of the Moray Firth. I think it will appeal to lots of people, and they will want to play both courses. I think, again, people in Dave's business will really maximise what they can do with a visit to the Highlands. And making your destination the Highlands and destination Inverness and or Dornoch to stay there and not have a tour that passes through our area. It'll be a tour to and stay in our area. I think they've done very well. I like the Cabot brand. I've been lucky to meet Ben Cowan-Dewar a few times and even play some golf with him. So again, he's progressive, he's forward thinking, he wants to deliver, he wants to do more. And I think that's really good for them. But what's also good is that the team at Cabot and the Highlands have been given autonomy to do their thing. So he hasn't changed the makeup of that. He hasn't given them, as they call it, the Home Office in Canada doesn't rule the roost. It is really what they want to do. They have to pass things by the board, obviously, but they're still free and easy to do what is right for their area. And I think that's a nice thing from Ben. It's understand your area and work with it, and not put the corporate hat on and make everybody the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we. Yeah, have you played that one, Ross? Did you get up there?
No.
So Dave, you did, and we did a 1457 outing up there, which is great fun, and brave opening it early for a preview. But I mean, having been involved with so many new courses, it's amazing how they grow in. You look at the wee hole like the 12th at Archerfield. Dave, the wee par 3? No, 13th. 13th. I mean, that hasn't changed, but now the bridge is there and the gorse is there and it looks very special. But the actual hole hasn't changed. The greens are the same place, the same shape. The bunkers are the same shape, but it just looks a lot nicer. So what else is happening in the Highlands? What's going on? So I hear Brora, the Radio Golf Show, a German podcast tonight, has got the chap who designed the Brora tartan. So are you guys all coming up with Highland Golf Club tartans for all your clubs? Or?
Yeah, well, as you know, we've had a tartan for a number of years now. We did that in 2016. I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, never get away from what people value Scotland for, I mean, it used to be that the whiskey and the shortbread tins were a bit old hat, but they're not actually. This is what we're known for. Tartan is something revered around the world. Everybody has a pipe band wear tartan, in their kilt. So it's something we should have. People want a touch of Scottishness when they come here, and these are things that are very predominant to us. Everybody likes whiskey. Well, not everybody, but everybody knows that they should. So why not have turf? I think it's great for them to have that desire to go forward. And David Gemmell, the GM at Brewery, you should have on the podcast, because he is another energetic guy who is striving and going forward at quite a big pace. And it's great to see him have that desire to come up here to run a golf club such as Brora, because he could see the potential in it. So please get him on, and I think you enjoy his enthusiasm for the game of golf and the business of golf, and giving people that opportunity.
So, anything else? You're very involved with Golf Highland as well. Any other news from Golf Highland?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're striking an accord here with the people in the Highlands working together. We've got a very dynamic board. A few extra have come on, and there's poor Willie Hook, and you all know Willie Mackay. He's taken a step back because he's now getting on a bit and actually listening to his doctor to say, look, slow down, Willie. But we've 2 or 3 more.
What was that? Slow down, did you say?
Slow down, yeah. Slow down.
Slow down. Mr. Hampton, you here first. Slow down.
Slow down, yeah. And so the board is great. We've attracted more clubs to join us, and so the power of what we can do is there. We speak to Helma Scheffler in Europe. She's done a great job in bringing the European market to us. Scottish Golf Tourism Week have allowed us to attend and have not a booth, but have a stand that all the tour ops can pass by. I think that the fact that we're shown as a cohesive group working together, as you guys do in East Lothian, really is a power to the brand there, and an understanding of what's possible in the Highlands. So that's really good. I can't say enough about the energy of the board there to do things, and people giving up their time to make it happen. And it's the same with our other little consortium, Highland Golf Links. That's the 3 courses of Dornoch, Nairn and Cabot, with the 3 hotels of Links House, Culloden House and Kings Mills. We are again seeing a vibrancy within it. That's 6 partners to really do more, to exemplify what we do, to portray the Highlands as a destination to come for a certain style of golfer. That small group will be. The Golf Highland does golf for everyone, whereas HGL is a certain section. But we all see the growth in that, and the desire to do it, and desire to give people what they want. I think it's very exciting that golf is at this particular stage, Malcolm, and I feel delighted to be involved in it. As Dave kindly says, we've done a lot of work over the years to bring it to this point. So it's great to see that work has borne fruit, and we are growing something that people want to take part in.
Roscoe, you had some questions on membership waiting lists and such like. Do you want to?
Yeah, look, it was just a general thing that pops into my mind all the time, Neil. And when I speak to some of the Australian people that want to come across, they always ask about green fees, the growing cost of green fees. And for some of my local friends or people ask me, have I joined a club? The conversation around memberships come up. It's a difficult one because memberships are full. I'm going to assume that a membership at Royal Dornoch is no easier to come by than it is in any of the East Lothian courses. So, I guess I'm just keen to, get your understanding of why, not why memberships are so full, but, is membership at most golf courses, especially the more known courses, and Royal Dornoch is obviously at the top of those lists, do we have full memberships because we've got full of locals, or do we have a number of memberships that are taken by overseas members that fill up memberships and stop local, as many locals getting in to golf clubs as possible? It's just something that whirls around my head as, and I thought, well, we had you here, I'll just get your thoughts on that. And, I'm sure you've got plenty of overseas members and plenty of local members, but, the thing that pops into mind is there a category of membership that takes full fee paying overseas members out of the normal sort of structure and allows more space for local members, but still allows someone who wants to have a membership and be a full fee-paying overseas member to be a full fee-paying overseas member? Granted, the fact that they're probably only going to come maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and they don't take up the load of the tee time as full as a local member. I think you get the gist of sort of what permeates my head, and I thought I'd just get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with that, Ross. Yeah, absolutely. So we were one of those clubs that was very open to membership all the way through, and took overseas members as we took local members as we took UK members. But again, back to this COVID thing, that COVID made golf extremely popular and extremely desirable, and so for us, we reached capacity, whether it's whatever group it was, we reached capacity, so we had to close. But the one thing we did, and the one thing that's very dear to us and important to us, is that we're a local golf club. We support the local community. So if you're willing and will come and live in Dornoch as your permanent residence, if you're going to stay and contribute to our community to be part of the fabric of who we are in the Highlands and especially in Dornoch, you can join Royal Dornoch Golf Club. There is no other way at the moment, and I don't see any other way of doing it for the foreseeable future. I'm talking 5, 10, 15 years. We will not be opening to anybody else because we're at capacity. I don't know what other golf clubs do. I know other golf clubs take overseas members, and I think I encourage you to do that. People, and our friends at Nairn are keen to grow their overseas members. I know that Barora did that during their COVID times to grow the overseas members for the very reasons you say. The PFE, they come, but not very often. But we are very conscious of our role in society, and we will make sure that if you live and join us in Dornoch and take part in who we are, whether that's at the golf club or in the town, on a cricket field as we have one now, on a football pitch, whatever it is, or just down the pub or having a cup of coffee, if you're willing to do that for us, you can join our golf club. And I think no matter what the other clubs do, this is something that won't change, and it's something that we get questioned on a little bit, but no, you come and join us because we are a local Dornoch golf club. We're just lucky that people from around the world want to take part too. And to answer your rest question, I don't do enough research into what the other clubs do, but I hope that they have the same ethos about who they are trying to support. Because if the world comes to an end, we will still have a nucleus of people in Dornoch, and we hope that they will join us to support what we do and grow it back again as we did in COVID.
Oh, I appreciate that because, and I didn't ask that to specifically point anything at Royal Dornoch, but your answer, clearly highlights a unique, I think, and again, I don't know exactly what other courses do. I don't think if I lived in Gullen, that if I had a Gullen postcode, I could join Gullen because I know it's closed, just using that as an example. But the fact that you have this ability for locals to join if they're in part of the community, I think that is another unique thing to you and to the credit of the club. I did not know that, and it's good to know. I really do appreciate a golf club that has that openness to the local membership, which is good. Are there any houses for sale up there, Malcolm? Can I move up? I move up to Dornoch. I can work from home. So,
I can say, Ross, you should move here because we've one of the best broadband connections anywhere in the rest of Scotland. So I've for our new clubhouse, I've just currently put in a 2 gig connection. They've told me it has capacity to go to 10 gig in the clubhouse.
Really?
Yeah. So you can live and work here, Ross. And you and I can sit in the same room for the next podcast.
That would be very good. The other question I had is green fees. I think I touched on it there, and that where is the cap on green fees? Your 2026 diary opened last year. I'm going to assume that it's somewhat full. Mm-hmm. But just from a broader industry perspective, where do you see green fees and guests for visitors going? We all know that they've gone up a lot in the last few years. What's the sort of position from your side of the fence on green fees in Scotland and what that does to the industry, and is it a capacity? Will it keep going up?
No, that's a very good question. Very relevant question to what we did, especially at the PGA show when I was there. There's a group of managers from US, Canada, Ireland, Scotland. We get together once a month on Zoom to discuss the state of the nation and all that kind of thing. And we have a lot of good conversations about practicalities of running golf clubs and golf resorts. And so because of the PGA show, we get together. We started it last year. We did it this year. So have a nice round table of a couple of hours discussing things. And this year, one of the main topics was green fees. Because we're all wondering where the peak is going to come. And a number of years ago, as green fees were going up in leaps and bounds, Ross, which you rightly said, we all wondered where the end point was and how much was enough and how much was too much. And so around the table, we all had that feeling we were just about there now. I mean, to your point, we were £360 at Dornoch this year. At TC is full. We're going to be £390 next year. And I was very conscious that we didn't put it over 400 for 2027. I think the number 4 is a big thing to get into because there's a number of the bigger clubs that already start with a 4 in their green fees. But most of the guys around the table were saying it's probably going to be inflation, maybe inflation plus 1 or 2%, but it's not going to be the 10, 12, 15% increases we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years. And we are the same. I think for 28, we will probably be just over 400, but just over, and maybe a 5 or 6% than it was. So I think we're about the crest, and I don't think anybody's shying away from the fact that we've done well out of it. We've built a clubhouse out of it. We're going to build another course out of it. But we're still, to your point, guys, providing that facility, that experience, that on-course and off-course that people are willing to pay for, and I think we can't lose sight of that, and none of us have. I think it's very important that people are now valuing the off-course experience just as much as the on-course experience, and that's where we feel justified with our green fee, because the clubhouse now matches that. But to your point, I think we've got to the point where it is now something that is relevant to what you're playing, but it is getting to that point where people will make a conscious decision. Will I really want to do that? We're lucky that the level we pitch at, the type of courses I'm involved in, top 10 in the world. For some, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and how much is a once-in-a-lifetime experience? There it is. I think, and Dave maybe have more opinion on this, what makes it harder is the price that hotels are charging, because staying in a hotel isn't a once-in-a-lifetime experience, but you're still paying almost the same as a green fee, or maybe more than a green fee, to stay in a hotel. And that's adding to the cost of the package that people are putting together. And I feel for Dave having to battle with that, to put together a cost-effective package for some of your clients, when the hotels are the ones that are pushing up the way in, maybe the golf courses, but we are providing that experience. And does the hotel give the same experience to their clients? I don't know, and I'm not going to answer that question. Many of my good friends are hoteliers, as there's one sitting here. And so that's where the package price goes up. But no, to your point, I think we're just about at the tipping point now, where that you won't say the big leaps in green fees. And I think that's right. Would I pay £500 for a green fee? If it was a significant course I hadn't played in my life, I probably would. But I wouldn't be doing it every day of a 7-day, 10-day trip.
I think that's an interesting point, actually, Neil, you've just made there. I think we're now seeing more of a blended approach where it is, peaks and troughs, and I think again, if we let's stay in the Highlands, I think what you've got there is a terrific golf course down the road in Tain, right? Absolutely terrific golf course, but again, it's not at the same price point as Dornoch, so it allows that light and shade to enter a package. So I think you could go and you could play Dornoch, and you could play, say, the Castle Struie Course. And then you go and you play Tain, and you play Gulfsby, and you play Brora. And there's a nice blend in there that actually takes, any of the sticker shock that someone might get if you were, playing Royal Dornoch 5 days in a row, or golf courses that of that price point. I think one of the things that I've heard increasingly and I heard a few times mentioned at the PGA show this year from our American friends, is we whether we know it or not, we have created what they are calling the Scottish model, which is essentially that green fees, and we knew this, but it's the first time I've heard it called the Scottish model is this year, where visitor green fees are openly and visibly used to subsidise members' fees. If you compare and contrast that with the US, where golf courses are often closed systems, entirely for the benefit of their members and their guests, which is absolutely their prerogative. I'm not criticising that. I'm just saying that is the model. And therefore, their fees have to be so much higher because they're having to pay for everything that happens on the property, right? So there's no other source of revenue there. There's just the initiation fees and then the monthly dues that a member pays. That's the only income that a club can generate. So therefore, every blade of grass that gets cut has to be paid for by member fees. Whereas here, we have that blended approach in most courses. We've talked about the exceptions in terms of Cabot and Kingsbarns and Dumbarton. But in most places, it's a member club that charges a visitor fee, and they use that visitor fee to ensure that the experience matches the one that the visitor expects, but also keeps those membership fees a little bit lower than they otherwise would be. And again, I thought it was interesting that it's the first time I've heard it described as the Scottish model, and it's one that I think that some American, maybe more modern even brand new or clubs that are going to open in the next 5 to 10 years in the US might start taking the approach of that Scottish model. So we might see it become a blueprint to be used elsewhere in the world. And again, I'm conscious, Ross, just in terms of how things work in Australia, is it some blend of the two? Is it where would that really sit in?
Sorry, I was just on mute there. I think the Scottish model has had an effect in Australian green fee, especially in the Sandbelt. My own club, Peninsula Kingswood, an international visitor fee is now plus or minus $1,000, so it's £500, and they benchmark, PK, RM, Kingston Heath, all sit around that sort of model and number, and that's gone up a lot in the last several years, much as it has, as we were talking to about the increase in fees here. So, I'm not going to say that they've increased their fees because Scotland increased their fees, but clearly the tourism market down there and the desire to play on the Sandbelt has increased, due to the visibility and the quality of the courses in a confined area. So, the Scottish model, as in the subsidised membership fee, no, not quite the same. I am aghast at the value of getting paying a membership fee in Scotland versus paying the equivalent level of golf course in Melbourne. Peninsula Kingswood, a full membership is around $7,000, and I'm going to assume that Royal Melbourne is plus or minus the same, and Kingston Heath same. So they're top tier, top 10 in the world courses. Royal Dornoch, top 10 in the world course. To me, that's different to what some of the membership fees I know here in Scotland are for local members. And I guess that goes to my point. If you're from overseas and there was a membership open at the top 10 golf course in the world in Scotland, and you could acquire that and play whatever you wanted and pay the fee, it's a no-brainer, really, wasn't it? So, so it's a little similar, but a little different.
And again, Neil, is that a part of the conversation that you have, Neil, when you're looking at the members' dues and the visitor fees? Do you have a ratio in mind that you'd want the membership to be at least twice, 3 times the visitor rate? Or is that something that even enters the consciousness? How does that equation play itself out in a committee meeting?
Yeah, unfortunately, the committee is made up of members, So therefore, the conversation doesn't go very quickly about, shall we make it 2 or 3 or 4 times the green fee? No, it goes the other way. How much can we put the green fee up, but how little can we put the sums up? So, and that's, turkeys and Christmas and all that, Dave. It's not going to change. I've tried that several times about having multiplication factors. The same to the member's guest fee. The member's guest fee should be a percentage of the green fee. No, we can't do that. No, it's the member benefit, so we can't do that. So no, you'll never get it that way, unfortunately, because it's market forces. They know they can charge more to somebody who's never been there before. And I do feel, from my intrinsic thing, such a shame that they don't take a more worldly, rounded approach to what they're paying for their annual sum. For your information, our annual sums have just gone out for the year 26-27. And the full membership for everything you'd ever want to do at Dornoch is £791.
Let me just have a wee look at property in Dornoch again.
What can I ask? Am I allowed to ask what the members' guest fee is?
£30, Ross.
£30.
Pretty well the same as roundabout East Lothian.
Yeah.
Ross, it just takes one of us to move to Dornoch, right? It's just you or me. Right?
Look, as long as I don't have to share a room or a bed with me.
No, there is now a disconnect between the green fee and the membership subscription because of the way that the game has gone over the last 10 years. And it's a shame, and we do need to try and reset it somehow. It will never be done quickly, but there is, we do want the members to understand just the value they're getting for their money. I know. And most of ours do. They don't shout too much about the number of visitors playing. We just point to the balance sheet and say, look, and then it quietens down a bit.
So it's interesting it's called the Scottish model, and I'm just conscious of time just now because this is the model as I've been. Everyone else developed their model on the back of it. And golf in Scotland has never been expensive. And, should we be following America down different things? Subs, David, not dues. We pay subs, not dues. And we don't get acclimated, we're acclimatized. Very quickly, a couple of bits. Gullen and living in Gullen, there's a 5-day membership, and I think you can still join Gullen on the 5-day membership, but you can't be a member of another club. So you need to live in Gullen in the bounds, but if you're a member of another club, you can't join, just to limit it. And that's true in quite a lot of places roundabout. And just on very quickly, as accommodation provider, Dave, we talked yesterday, most club-owned golf courses don't pay VAT. Hotels pay VAT and booking.com fee. So you look at a £400 bill for a hotel room, 20%'s gone VAT and 18%'s gone in booking.com fees. It's 38%'s gone before you start. It's not coming in the pocket. So it's just, I'm just
No, and again, I think, and it's true of golf courses.
We need to get looking really hard at the costs that the Westminster government and Scottish government are putting on hospitality. All of us with the increase in employers' contributions, way tips are done could be put in the payroll rather than run a trunk, and many people don't run trunks. Then you're paying employers' national insurance on all that. So we're a bit complicated towards the end of what we're saying here, but. Yeah. And the other great thing in Scotland, if you come, you find all sorts of wee golf courses that are not very expensive and great accommodation that is not very expensive that you can play golf in, whether it's in the Highlands, whether it's Moor Arisig Way, whether it's Ayrshire, whether it's Fife. Oh, you want to go to Fife? Whether it's Fife, whether it's round about Aberdeen, or whether it's out in the islands or Islay or whatever else. Neil, any final little comments?
No, absolutely. I agree with you, Malcolm. I wasn't trying to highlight the hotels for being anything other than part of the process, But I think you're right. Your final comments here are right. And if people are interested, golfisland.com does exactly what you said there. That gives you the variety of golf courses to play, the places to stay, and to enjoy golf in all its forms. And I think that's what it is. And I was intrigued by the Scottish model. I think the Scottish model was let everybody play golf that wants to. It just so happens that some clubs have monetized it in a way that's grown their business. But I'll go back to what I said at the very beginning of my last podcast and this one. It's that the game is for everyone, and my job is here to help you play golf. And the more that us round this microphone tonight, or around the table, or around the bar, or around the 18th green, whatever it is, the more we can get people to play golf, the more fun we're going to have, and the more that the game is going to survive and thrive and be part of the Scottish psyche and that around the rest of the world.
Thank you, sir. Neil, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. It's great to have you back. As Dave said, you're a great ambassador for Scotland, and you are held in very, very high esteem around the country and the industry, but also by many people who just come and visit the golf course and visit the clubhouse. And I suspect one of the reasons you get the applications comes somewhere from leadership. Leadership is fairly important in life. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for all you do. And the Golf Island website's great. Also, the Scotland Golf Began website, scotlandgolfbegan.com. You'll find all you need to book and stay and play. You'll find accommodation, golf courses, tour operators, all on there. So please go and do that. And just to remind you, if you want to join the 1457 Society, you can become a founding member for the princely price of £49. Or you can become a free member, but you'll find out about things a wee bit later on, but you can still come and play golf where we organise our events. So thank you, Neil. Thank you, Dave and Roscoe. It's been a pleasure having you. You'll find us on social media at Where Golf Began, Facebook, Scotland Where Golf Began, the website www.scotlandwheregolfbegan.com. And it's good night from us, it's good night for him. Swing easy and see you next time.